Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna be talking today about something more personal to me. I really wanted to share my Starseed as well as my awakening story, just because everyone has such a different story. And I know when I was waking up, I was on YouTube, I was online like crazy trying to find out, what other people's stories were. And I found a lot of resonance and things where I was like, oh my gosh, me too. And it helps you, maybe my story will help some of you relate, just come to some realizations, make you feel like you're not alone, things like that. So yeah, I wanted to share that story with you today. I will have to go back to when I was about 4 years old, which is as far back as I can remember. I have some pretty vivid memories from then on, and a lot of them, just kind of unexplainable and magical, I guess, to me. So, I've always felt different since I was a young kid. My imagination was always just kind of bigger than other kids. I always lived up here, and it's not about imagination. I mean, I thought that's what it was as a kid, I guess, because of what your parents tell you and things like that. But to me, it was real. It was completely real as this reality. So I'll start with when I was about 4. So I had this obsession with mermaids specifically, and elves. And fairies. You could put fairies in there too. Mainly elves though. So the thing with the mermaids is that not only was I obsessed, I actually believed that I was one. Okay? Literally, every time I would get into any body of water, the ocean, a pool, taking a bath, things like that, I literally believed that I transformed into a mermaid. I would start singing these kinds of melodies on my own. This came from just me, you know what I mean? It wasn't from a movie or anything like that. I used to move my, lower body as if I was a tail and things like that. I would really try and swim that way. It felt more natural for some reason to me. And the singing, I loved to sing as a kid, and it was just who I was. And that lasted a few years, I would say. Of course, as I got older, that changed. I realized I wasn't, of course, but the obsession with mermaids never went away. Elves, same thing. I've always had a fascination with elves. Basically, the fairy realm in general. I just felt very much a part of it as a kid. And I have very vivid memories. For example, I moved around a lot as a kid. And at one point when I'm going to say, because it kind of blurs between the 4 and 5 year, when I was 4 and 5 years old, since we moved around quite a bit. But it was between Holland and Poland. So we were situated there because my grandfather, well, at the time, my grandfather was the ambassador of Algeria. And because of that, he was placed, in different places for his job. And at the time, my parents were having issues, and they, were kind of separating, I guess. So we would live with my mom's side of the family for some time, and then with my dad's side of the family, things like that. So for this period of time, we were staying with my mom's side of the family. And we were situated in, I believe it was Poland, but it could have been either Holland or Poland, okay? One of those two. So anyways, I was about 4 years old. And the way that our house was this huge, to me seemed like a mansion, okay? Like very old. I believe it was Poland. It was very old, but very big. It was almost like a mini castle. I don't even know how to explain it. But anyways, behind the, and it was spooky, and I'll explain why. But behind, in the backyard part of the house, connected to a forest. And I remember, I was with my brother most of the time. My grandparents didn't really supervise us, to be honest with you. So we used to kind of wander off into the backyard and the forest and things like that, and explore things like that, right? And many times, though, my brother's 3 years older than me, so sometimes he wasn't always playing with me just because I was much younger than him. And I have many memories of going into the forest alone and basically laughing and talking and playing. And I don't know who I was with. Of course, I remember being alone in that sense, but I also remember being amongst, just in this magical moment. I don't know how to explain it. it's almost as if time would pass in a weird way, you know, and I would just be amongst the creatures of the forest, the fairies and things like that, the elves, and that's how I felt as a kid. And I also was very empathic as a kid. I felt emotion very, very strongly. To the point where I had times I would have panic attacks in my own house, literally, because I felt like I was a stranger in my own home. I used to think, who are these people who are my family? Like, I didn't even recognize them at times. I just felt very alone. I almost felt like my real family dropped me off somewhere, you know, in like a spaceship, or I didn't know, really. I just felt like I wanted to go home, but even though I was in my home, I just didn't feel like I was. So that was one thing. And yeah, just as a kid, I was a little more serious, just picking up on all the energies around me. I was kind of a healer from a young age, and I did weird things. Like, I remember a relative of ours had a broken leg or something. He had a cast, and I was young. I was probably 7 at the time, and my first instinct was to go and to touch his, you know, leg, the part that he had broken, and I kind of bent down, and then, like, over his cast, I kissed it, you know, and it was like really, I guess, it just came naturally to me. And my family made fun of me for it. Of course, they laughed, and they're like, don't do things like that, it's weird, you know. And I get now, I mean, maybe why they would say that. It might have looked a little weird, but as a kid, you don't think about these things. Anyways, so I did these weird things as a kid that to me just seemed natural, basically. And I had an obsession with the stars and the moon. Even till now, I'm super connected to the moon. But as a kid, I was very obsessed with the stars. I used to have moments when I felt like, you know, before bed, just lying there, like I literally floated out of my body and went into the stars. Like, my mind was always out there, thinking about really deep, deep thoughts. You know what I mean? Let's see here. I just wrote some notes so I don't forget stuff. Yeah, I've always had a fascination with forests, nature in general, but specifically trees. I love forests. It's like my place to, my dream one day is to build my dream house, you know, in a forest and have like a whole foresty area around me, because I feel very grounded. It's just a very magical energy around trees and forests, and I connect very well with those energies. It just makes me feel very alive and very at home. Always had a good connection with animals as well. Like, animals tend to follow me sometimes. Even till now, I'll just have random dogs like walk alongside me. You know, kids stare at me, babies, things like that. And I do love kids, but I've just noticed it's like a little bit more. And it has been since I was a kid. Since I was young, and it was always stronger as I was younger, I've been able to feel other presences as well. And I guess maybe this is part of being empathic, even though it's not the emotions, like sensing the energies, but I was sensing presences. At times when I'd go to bed, it was too much. Like, I'd get very fearful, and I'd feel like somebody was in my room, like watching over me, basically. And it could have been my guide, but I just didn't understand it at the time because I was so young, and I just felt it very strong. I used to feel presences of other beings very strong. My grandmother, so my mother's mother, she also was very much like, well, she was labeled as a schizophrenic in that sense for a very long time, but I was very close to her as a child, and she used to tell me a lot of stuff. She confided in me quite frequently. We were very good friends as a kid, and she used to tell me that she could see other beings, things like that, and everyone thought she was crazy. Everyone in my family called her crazy. They thought she was just nuts. But I always knew there was more to it, and now I kind of understand more and why, since I'm older. So it's very possible that it's passed down through genetics. I'm not entirely sure, but my grandmother did also definitely have those abilities. As a kid, and even now, I get very easily overstimulated, and I'm sure a lot of empaths can relate to this, okay? I can't be in crowds for long periods of time, things like that. I need a lot of alone recharging time, and loud noises, graphic, you know, scenes, things like that. I can't watch them. Like, I get overly stimulated. It affects me physically, and I've always been this way as a kid. So, like, in certain movies, you know, scary movies with like torturing things, you'll see me doing this the whole time, or I'll just leave because I can't. I just can't. Yeah, definitely. I just felt like a stranger in my family. I felt like I looked different. especially after my parents split up, and I went permanently with my dad's side of the family at the age of about 6, turning 7. And that's when we moved countries. Basically, I was initially in Kenya, and then we moved around within that, and then we left for Canada. So on my dad's side of the family, I just felt very different from them. I mean, physically, yes, because they're Indian, and I just felt very, I just looked very physically different from them. So there was just a lot of weird energy there in that sense. I mean, not from my side, but just because I came from a very 3D family in that sense, with a lot of it's just a very dysfunctional, it was a very dysfunctional setting. I'm just going to put it that way. Okay, so, I was like the black sheep. Whenever I was being myself, it always triggered everyone around me. I was accused of everything you can think of, okay? I was basically bullied in my own home is how I feel and how I see it, because I never felt comfortable. I was constantly being attacked for everything, from the way I laugh to the way I talk to the way I eat to the way I think. I mean, everything was not okay, basically. And I was too much at times. So in that sense, yes, and I was bullied in middle school, and I had to leave my school actually because it got so bad. The whole school, basically, it was just a weird scenario that I didn't even ask for. It just kind of happened. And yeah, it was not cool. It was not a good time for me. It was a very dark time, actually. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to this, but because, I actually only awakened a few years back and realized all this. So when I was much younger, I didn't have awareness of any of this, and I was actually very depressed for a very long time. And as I got a bit older in my teens, I got suicidal for a little bit of time as well. I just couldn't handle it anymore. I just felt very misunderstood by the entire world. It was super hard for me to make friends in school. I usually made friends with the outcasts, and the weirdos, those kinds of people who were abstract thinkers like me, who didn't judge, who were just kind of very authentic, pure people. These are the people that I bond with, and these are my soul family. So that was me growing up, basically. I was not the popular kid in school. I wasn't one of those girls, the fashion kid. I couldn't care less about how I dressed really when I was younger in school. That was not my, I've always kind of been on more of an intellectual and more of a deep thinker in that sense. So as a kid, to help me get through this, I really used to try and escape into other realities through books. So my obsession became reading from a young age, and I remember one of the first books that got me really, oh my god, was Harry Potter. I loved that. That was my favorite thing. I was a Harry Potter fanatic. I used to read, I had the whole collection of books. I used to read them and reread them and reread them and reread them. And when the movies came out, I got them all on DVD, of course. I saw them in theater. I rewatched them, and every time I would, it just felt like I would escape into that world, and I loved it. Same thing with The Lord of the Rings. There was a few different times when, through books, definitely, that was my escape, and I loved it. Definitely, growing up, I was a target for narcissists and energy vampires, and I'm sure a lot of lightworkers can relate to this. In my own family, my father is a narcissist. I had to deal with a lot of people in my family and just in my life in general, okay, that have been very much narcissistic, service to self type of people. And after a while, you learn how to deal with these people. It actually strengthens you, because then you learn how to really work your energy and build, put that shield up when you need to, and deal with these kinds of people, cut those cords, because they play such kinds of manipulative games with you that they take your energy without even you knowing. And every time you interact with these people, okay, you leave feeling more drained and low energy and low vibration. And these are not people to have in your life. So part of the reason I'm giving this story is because I want people to understand that no matter how deep and dark your current reality is or was, okay, you can always get out of it. It's in your control. And I left my home when I was 20 years old, in the middle of university. It wasn't hard. I mean, it wasn't easy. I didn't get to take my things with me in that sense in the beginning. I didn't have a plan. It happened because of a huge fight. I just had enough at that point of being controlled, being manipulated by my family. I just had enough. They were they were sucking my energy. They were taking my life force energy out of me. I was getting depressed. And at that time, when I was about 18, I finally decided to take care of myself. I started exercising, eating better, because in my family, like, we eat a lot of junk food and very processed foods, you know. There was no emphasis put on being healthy, like, especially for the kids. Nobody cared like that. So I gained a lot of weight as a kid too. And at one point I just had enough. I was like, no, I need to love myself and take care of myself, because I do have dreams, and I'm not just going to let these people, you know, stop me from blossoming into, you know, who I need to become one day. I always knew I had a higher purpose, and that really did keep me going. I'll tell you that. It was just an intuition thing. Like, I felt guided all the time and protected in some way, even as a kid. Weird situations would happen. Like, me and my brother were put in such dangerous positions as when we were young kids, sometimes with my mom. Like, I remember this one time in Kenya. So I'm not going to get into details, but it was like a drug-related situation, and I was with my mom. Me and my brother were with my mom. And there was a situation, I guess, where she owed these dealers money or something like that and hadn't paid them. I don't know. But all I remember was like these 3 or 4 guys running after us. And me and my mom were like running, and my brother were running away from them. And I was terrified. Like, it was the scariest thing in the world. And I don't know how. I don't remember how this happened. But somehow a church was right there. Like, a church appeared somewhere. And there was this nun. Yeah, she was a nun, exactly. She had the robe thing on. So she had the door open in the main doors of the church. She was in Africa. It was in Kenya, so she was an African nun. And she was like waiting for us, like basically just standing there waiting for us. And she basically like was like this. And we went inside. She closed the doors. She took us to this other like room in there, a small little closet room. I don't even remember. I was very young. I was like I said, I was probably 4 or 5, maybe, something like that. Maybe 5, somewhere around there. And she saved us from these guys. Like, I remember pounding on the door of the church. And I don't know where this nun came from. I don't know who she was, but she saved us. Like, she literally did. And many similar situations happened after that with me and my brother. So another really crazy thing happened when I was a kid. And it was around the same time. I was probably around 4. I was a bit younger, so around 4 I'm going to go with. And it was a time period when my mom was kind of being very irresponsible with us, and we were left alone a lot during the day. So me and my brother were, I don't know what happened, but I started like doing weird things. I believe a demon or a dark entity was really trying to take over me, because I started writing like 666 all over my face, my body. I wouldn't remember doing it. I just remember like having it on me. So there was moments I was not even conscious, and I knew like something weird was happening, and I don't even know how I got out of it, but I did. It just stopped after some time. It freaked me out though. So remember, Lightworkers are always targeted by dark entities. Always. Okay, we are the most targeted because they need our light as a source of food, basically, since they have cut off their own source, right? Their own connection to source. So, one sec. So many times, like, we're going to be targeted in weird ways, and we have to understand that the higher vibration you are, the harder it is for them to target you or actually get to you. Okay, they can target you, but they can't really get to you, because if you're high vibration enough, they can't even reach you. Dark entities, service to self, can only go to 4D negative, not 4D positive, and not 5D or any dimension above that, or density above that. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my videos on Law of One. Okay, Law of One explained simply, and I do explain this stuff in there. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm gonna fast forward a little bit to when I was probably about like 10 or 12 years old, around there. And like I said, I had no awareness at that point either about the whole Starseed or Lightworker, notion, even angels, things like that. That was not something I really knew or believed in, I'll be honest with you. Even though, yes, my mind was, but I was kind of more in the fantasy world, I would say, at that time, rather than like metaphysical stuff. So when I was about that age, I started having this crazy recurring dream. It was literally every night for I think about a week, maybe longer. And it was this battle scene. And it was very scary. I would wake up from it like crying sometimes, or just very in a panicky mood. And basically the scene was of me, so it was a whole battlefield, okay, this vast land area full of dead bodies, okay, and I was there and I was bending over somebody else. I don't remember who that person was. They were wearing armor, just like in a war, but like back in the days. And I was kneeling over this person, and it was the feeling though of being so alone, like literally. And I don't know if that person was me, like that's how I died in a past life, or if I was experiencing a trauma that I remember of having somebody die or being the only one. I don't know, but I was the only one alive in the whole battlefield. And I would like look up to this guy and scream and cry out like in just so much pain. And I'd wake up at that point, and it was just a recurring dream every single night for, I don't know, a week, perhaps a little more than a week. So that kind of started making me think, putting thoughts in my head of, oh my God, like what is that? That's random. I was never into army, soldier, war stuff as a kid. Like I was very much the Barbie, girly girl in that sense. Polly Pocket, that was my thing. Stuffed animals, dolls, even at that age, reading Harry Potter and stuff, but I never was into like armies and wars and battles. So for me, that made me question and wonder about reincarnation. I actually started thinking about it at that age. Just the thought of it, it was strange. So let's see. We're going to fast forward because from that point on, like 10, 12 years old until, I'm going to go with about, how old was I? About 20 years old, 21 years old, somewhere around there. I didn't experience much in that sense. So much was going on with school and, university after that and moving, because even within there, like that time period, being in Toronto, I moved back to Kenya for middle and high school, like 3 years or so. And then I moved back to Toronto for my last year of high school, and then went on to university. So it was a very busy time for me, and not much happened in that sense. I was kind of dormant, I'm going to put it that way, okay? And then in 2012, I started seeing these numbers, okay? It was weird. Like I started seeing 1111 everywhere. And I didn't know what to make of it. I still didn't know. I still didn't think about starseeds or look up starseeds or anything about that. I just noticed the numbers, and I would comment on it every now and then, but that's it. That's where it ended. And this continued for a few years until 2014, which is when I moved here to Bolivia, actually, with my family. It was a move that I initiated. My husband did not want to move. I actually forced us to move because what was happening is in Toronto, while still seeing those numbers, I was just getting very depressed. I don't know what was happening to me, because in my life, in my material, physical life, everything was perfect. Like my husband had an amazing job, an executive, level position. So I didn't even have to work. Like he was getting paid enough to take care of us in that sense. We were looking into getting a new place, a bigger place. We had a car. Like my first son had just been born. He was probably just, 6 months at the time, or 8 months, something like that. So we were in a good place, in that sense. But I don't know what. I was not satisfied. I was not happy. I felt like I was getting depressed, and I was getting sick almost. Like my life force energy was leaving me. I don't know what it was, but I just felt this pull and this need and urgency to leave the country, to move. And I told my husband, I was like, we need to so because of course he is from Bolivia, and he had a house here and everything. So we said, I didn't really give him much of an option, to be quite honest. But we moved. And, there was until now, it's been about a 7-year-long struggle, okay, for us. So much have we learned, though. It was such a necessary move. It sparked our spiritual awakening in both of us. We actually both awakened at the same time. And this was in 2016, I believe it was. 2016 is when we both had our awakening, okay? And I'm going to tell you about that. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah. So 2016, close to, I'm not even going to say 2017. It was 2016. Okay. So we had our awakening. Okay. And it started this way. It was crazy. So I came across this PDF document online. I don't remember how. I don't remember how I came across it. I was not looking into these things, okay? It was called The Russian Book of Alien Races. It was like an old KGB document, government document in PDF form that was translated from Russian to English. And it is still available online. If you're really interested, you can comment down below and I can actually send you the link. So, I don't know. I came across this and I started reading and it just did something to me. Like, as I was reading, it did something to my DNA. I'm going to call it, I got activated. I got activated. I saw all these alien races that they had documented, okay? Of known races that they have dealt with here on Earth, like have been actually dealing with. And ones that they know of who were here before, you know, from other constellations, other systems, things like that. And I had always, I mean, it's not something I thought about ever, I'll be honest, about the aliens. But I always kind of knew subconsciously that there was more to it than just this plane, just Earth. Okay, I did know that. I was not one of those people who would say, no, aliens don't exist. I would always lean towards, yes, they do. But I wasn't obsessed with the thought of it. But this was my confirmation, and it activated me. And I shared it with my husband. It activated him. And from that point forward, everything changed for us, like literally. Not only was I seeing the ones, now I started seeing other combinations of numbers. 222, 333. I started seeing all kinds of numbers. My husband and I both started having crazy supernatural experiences because we felt very inclined to start meditating and going within. So we did. And one second. So we did. And within, I'm going to say, the first 6 months, okay, of this moment when we had our awakening, I don't even know how to explain it. I'm going to just share the experience with you, okay? So, my personal experience. So, I was very much wanting to know who are my soul family, my galactic family. Where do I actually originate from? Because like I said, when I was young, I never felt connected to my family. And I always wanted to know beyond that, where am I from? Where do I really come from? So I meditated on it. And one night I had an experience. It was very intense, okay? So I woke up, so I had gone to bed, and I remembered waking up in my physical body, like here on this bed that you see, the same bed, okay, on this side right here. I, according to me, in the middle of the night, woke up. I got up, I sat up in my bed, I walked this way, right here across, to go to the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom, it's dark, everything's dark. And I mean, my initial thought when I had gotten up in the bed was I need to go pee, right? So I went to the bathroom, but then the thought of peeing it disappeared when I got to the bathroom. The only thought I had then was I need to turn the lights on because it was dark. So I go to flip the switch on and my finger goes right through the switch like a ghost. And that's when I had my moment of realization of what was happening. And that's the weirdest thing, is when you're actually out of body in your astral body, in your light body, and then you realize it while you're in your light body or your astral body. It's the weirdest thing. And I panicked because I was new to this. I was very much new to this. I panicked. I basically flew, okay, because it was very fast. I was trying to go back into my physical body, and halfway, in the hallway, halfway to my room, a voice. And it was, I don't know how to describe it to you. The sound is not the same in the astral as it is here on 3D. In the astral, the sound almost echoes all around you. It's not about far or near. It's like it's everywhere, if that makes sense. And so this being, who was a male, and he had a very angelic voice. It was beautiful. And he started speaking to me, but not in English. He started talking to me in another language that I did not know. And because I had realized that I was out of body, maybe that's what blocked me from actually understanding what he was trying to tell me, because it was in, I think, light language. It sounded something like light language or an elvish dialect, but I couldn't tell. I was so panicky. I didn't want to turn around to see who this person could be if they were behind me. It was just very clear to me, though. It was very clear, and he was speaking, and it was flowing. It was almost like a singing of, I don't even know, it was beautiful, light language. But because I've told you, because I realized I was out of body and I was new to this, I panicked and I left. I flew right back through the door, which was closed, into my body, and then I woke up in my bed, and I was like huffing and puffing and panicking, and I woke my husband up like this, like, oh my God, I need to tell you this, what happened right now. It changed everything for me. It was the confirmation I needed. I wished that I hadn't panicked so bad, so I could have at least heard what he had to say. It might have been something important. I might have seen him. Gosh, I mean, but they know when you're ready or when you're not ready, because you really do have to be ready. And it means something else to be ready. It's really intense. So since then, though, apart from that experience, there have been other experiences. My husband personally had one, and I won't get into too many details because it was his own personal experience, but it was an experience where involving me, because I was experiencing really, really crazy ascension symptoms. I was detoxing. It was just a really crazy time. My body was not dealing well with the pains, and I felt like my kidneys were failing on me. I don't even know. It was just the worst pain. I started getting hot flashes and cold flashes through my body, even though there was medically nothing wrong with me. And I went to bed thinking I'm going to die. Like, the pain was just unbearable. I just didn't know what the hell was happening. And my husband that night, he told me, because I had slept through it, he told me that these two little beings, they were like, I don't know, probably like this tall, right here in my room by the door, two little beings had come in, and he described the whole thing to me, the whole interaction. And they had hugged him, and they basically had come to heal me, is what they had said, because I woke up the next morning brand spanking new, like nothing had even happened to me. I don't even know. So they came to heal me, and he saw them, and he actually physically touched them and interacted. They actually embraced him, they hugged him, and he was telepathically communicating with them. There was two at the door. One was shy. They were both shy, but one was like looking, like peeking with one hand like this, and the other one was behind him. And my husband was telepathically saying, it's okay, don't be afraid, come. And that's when they sort of came in, and they hopped on this couch that I'm sitting on, by the way, on this side. They hopped on here and then onto the bed. So it was really cool. When you open up to these things, you guys, you start having crazy experiences that you have to go through it yourself. Anyways, so fast forward. My first memory after my awakening of who I was the Pleiades. And it happened this way, guys. I went online and I looked up one of these Starseed origin, I think it's called Star Origin quizzes. And basically what it does, it's like it shows you different images of different constellations, star constellations, and you have to go based on how you feel. So if you like feel a certain emotion towards one, you write down what that number is. There's no names on it, so you can't be biased and know even what that constellation is, but you write down the numbers, and once the quiz is done, you check then to see what they are. And for me, I mean, the biggest one, my most emotional reaction was to the Pleiades. I did get a little bit towards Sirius as well, but mainly the Pleiades. That was the biggest one for me at the time. I just knew that I was from there. So I started doing a lot of research into the Pleiades. I started resonating with the characteristics of Pleiadian starseeds, things like that. And then the next, so it comes in stages. Like you have this one remembrance, okay, of this past life or other self, and then you get to experience it for a bit, and then another one comes. Okay, this is because you can't handle it all in one go. So first it was for me the Pleiades, then it was my Elven self. So this one was very emotional for me because I don't remember exactly what triggered it, but it was something to do with Celtic, like it was a song, I believe. It was a Celtic song. I don't know exactly what it was. I believe it was a Celtic song. And I heard it and I started crying, like literally. And then I started getting all these memories, these flashbacks almost, of places, and I can't pinpoint exactly if it was Ireland or Scotland, but it was in that region. I got these, like this longing that it would make me cry to go there like it was my home. Okay, these visions of these forests and of these stone structures. And just very specifically though, being an elven being. That was kind of the main thing about it. Okay, there was the Celtic aspect, but it was the elven, you know, it might have been an elven lineage, I might have been an elven being, because I know elves and humans coexisted a long time ago. So there was a connection there with the elves, and till now, and it explains why I was obsessed with them since I was young. There's definitely that connection there for me, okay? So after the elven remembrance, okay, and when I say elf, I don't mean those little elves, I mean like, you know, Lord of the Rings, like Arwen, for example, or Legolas, like those types of elves, human size, very much human looking, but they still are a different species. It's a different consciousness altogether. Elves are one with nature, okay? They're all about being one with nature and coexisting very smoothly and graciously as one. They're very high vibrational beings. They have, of course, abilities, you know, very intense abilities, healing abilities, all kinds of telepathic and supernatural abilities, okay? And they do exist, they're real, absolutely. And after that, some time after that, I came in touch with my witch aspect. So I remember I actually had past lifetimes remembrances of being a witch, actually. Some were painful memories, some were magical and amazing memories. Some of the memories were so painful that they still cause traumas in me till today, actually. That the reason why I remember those things were to remember that I needed to heal from them in this lifetime. So there's a lot, guys. It's important to go back and realize where you come from and who you are, because it really helps you. You aren't just this person in this lifetime and that's all you are. No, you are a soul that's infinite, that never dies, okay? And you have had so many experiences in the past. And when I say past, because time's not real, I mean other parallel or alternate realities. So after that, some time passed, and then I had a remembrance about Mintaka. And the Mintaka for me was the mermaid. That was why I was so still stuck in that mermaid consciousness, I guess, when I first incarnated into this lifetime. And still thought I was one, is because I was a mermaid in Mintaka. Okay, I had that lifetime, and I have memories of the energy from there, the consciousness of being there, the water, things like that. You know, Mintaka no longer exists. I think it exploded, but it was a very beautiful and peaceful planet. Mainly water, but there was some land too. And yeah, basically, you know, with all of these remembrances too came my mission. I started to really come into my mission in the last year, I'm gonna say, okay? Even longer, actually, because I started putting a lot of time into research and educating myself. For years, I would say the last 3 years, I've been in like heavy research mode to educate myself and first understand, first heal myself, heal the traumas. I can only then help others once I have loved myself and healed myself and my cup is full. Then it can now spill out to the rest of the world. This is what I'm doing. This is why I do the videos, why I share what I share. It's to raise consciousness. It's to help other people. Okay, this is why I do what I do. And if I do it via video, it's gonna reach a lot more people. So I don't do like, you know, healings and readings for people, things like that. No, I do those kinds of things for fun. Like I do tarot reading, you know, I don't know, I mean, mainly that's the thing that I practice, but some healing techniques, energy healing techniques, I do practice things like that on my own, but not for services, not to offer services. This is strictly what I'm doing is speaking, publicly speaking. Eventually that's what I want to be doing, to raise vibration and raise consciousness. That's my main mission. So yeah, guys, that's basically what I wanted to share with you guys today, was that story. I hope I didn't miss anything. It was a lot. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put comments and questions down below. I can even make a video answering some of your questions. That would be cool, because I've really been getting a lot of questions lately, private messages from a lot of people asking me a lot of questions actually. So I'm thinking to start doing that, is answering some of your guys' questions. So my links are down below, because I do have a Facebook group, Truth Seekers and Spreaders, 5D Earth Knowledge, and my 2 Facebook pages, Tara Stars Gumusio, as well as Warriors of the Light. So, and on Instagram, I'm tara.stars1111. So please take a look at that if you're interested, and if this resonates, and share this, please, if this resonates with you. Get in touch with me if you have any questions or anything like that. I'm always open for that, okay? Sending you guys a lot of love and light. Take care. Bye.